Welcome to this slow and strong yoga practice for your follicular phase. During this time in the cycle, we experience rising energy. We have estrogen increasing towards mid-cycle. All of these things contribute to higher energy levels and greater opportunities for building muscle. So this practice serves as a great complement to your strength training. It will provide a steady dose of strength in both the upper and lower body while improving range of motion. So you'll get a great stretch throughout the body. It is a slow practice, so I encourage you to drop into that mindset of moving very slowly to cultivate strength, to cultivate that steadiness that then will serve you in your other strength work. So we'll come to the top of the mat, come to a nice steady mountain pose. So really root down through your feet, and then from the feet start to go all the way up the body, just kind of dropping into alignment. So you might rock forward and back. You might shrug the shoulders, wiggle the spine until you sort of really have a good sense of your body in space. Gently lift the pubic bone towards the navel, the hip bones toward the low ribs, and then stretch up through the spine, stacking the bones one by one through the crown of the head. We'll move through Sun Salutation A first. This is like our warm-up. It's like a yoga workout, and the Sun Salutation A serves to warm all parts of the body. So we'll begin by inhaling, reach the arms overhead. As you exhale, deep bend in the knees, fold over your legs, shift the weight into the ball mounts of the feet, relax the head and neck. Inhale, halfway lift your spine, stretch through the crown of the head. And as you exhale for this first round, step back into plank. Find your strongest plank here, stretch back through the legs, forward through the heart. As you inhale, come forward onto your tiptoes, shift the elbows back in space, lower all the way to the belly. Inhale, cobra, keep the hips and legs grounded, press up through the heart, stretch the spine, maybe gaze up. Exhale back down to the earth, tuck the toes. In your own way, inhale, high plank, and exhale, downward facing dog. Just a breath here, inhale through the nose, and sigh it out through the mouth. Inhale, gaze forward between your hands, lift your heels, bend your knees. Step your feet between your hands, forward bend. Inhale, lift the spine halfway, stretch through the crown of the head, and exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, rise, take your arms with you as you reach all the way up, stretch the spine, and exhale, hands melt down through the heart. Again, just like that, inhale, reach the arms up and overhead, and exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, lift the spine, ripple all the way through. And as you exhale, step the feet back to plank. Inhale, shift the weight forward onto your tiptoes. And as you exhale, come all the way to the belly. A little bit wider with the finger pads this time. Tilt the elbows up in space. Keep your hips and legs grounded. Inhale, cobra pose. Maybe a little bit bigger back bend here, swaying the hips side to side. And exhale, lower back down to the belly. Inhale, high plank, knees up or down. Exhale, downward facing dog. Start to feel some heat. Enjoy a few breaths in downward dog this time. Press down and forward with your finger pads. Wrap the inner upper arm bones forward in space. Mirror that action in the inner thighs. The inner upper thighs, wrap them back in space, but keep the feet parallel. Stretch up through the sitting bones. Feel the heart, belly, chest melt toward the thighs. Inhale, gaze forward between your thumbs. Bend your knees, lift your heels. And like a loaded spring, send your feet to your hands, forward bend. Inhale, lift halfway up. And exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up, bone by bone, arms overhead. And exhale, hands to heart. Last round of Sun Salutation A. Inhale, reach the arms up, stretch the spine. Exhale, fold over your legs. Start to feel a little bit more space now as we move through our third round. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back into plank. Inhale, shift the weight forward, bend your elbows straight back, lower all the way to the earth. This time, upward dog, we'll set it up so that we can find that strong back bend. Hug the elbows into your sides. Let the fingertips be aligned with the tips of the shoulders so your hands are a little bit back from the shoulders. We're going to keep the tops of the feet grounded, drag the hands back, and as you inhale, lift the legs off the mat, the hips off the mat, so you're only touching tops of feet and the hands. Dial the thumbs open to broaden across the collarbones. Stretch back through the legs to activate the lower body, so we feel length in the lower spine rather than compression. On your next exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Just a breath here, inhale and exhale. As you inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees, step the feet to the hands, forward bend. Inhale, lift halfway up, and exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, reach up, upward hands, stretch through the spine, and exhale, hands to the heart. Enjoy a breath here, just allowing that movement to settle. Perhaps it's stirred up a bit of energy. Maybe you feel that awakening happening through the spine, through the body. And then we'll continue to flow here. So we'll step the feet together, big toes touch, moving into our Sun Salutation B series. So now we add on with some lunge postures. As you're ready, chair pose, sit back and down, reach your arms up. Notice if your low ribs start to flare, can you draw the hip points toward the low ribs? If that rounds the upper back, can you then strengthen the back of the heart to lift the arms overhead? Sink a little bit deeper into the legs. Feel that strength, that stability. Then bring your hands to your heart. Big inhale breath. As you exhale, twist your upper body to the right. Press your right knee into your left knee to square the hips. Feel the obliques fire up. Big inhale here. And as you exhale, aim your left elbow to the outside of right knee without touching first. So get as deep in the twist as you can, using the strength of your belly from the inside out. And then we begin to hook the elbow. Press the top hand into the bottom hand to twist the spine. Maybe you gaze over right shoulder. Sink deeper into the hips, square the hips to the front. As you're ready, slowly come through center. Inhale. Take a moment to observe how you feel in the sides of the waist, that difference from the twist. And then once again, hands to the heart, sink back and down. Feel your legs, the strong power of your legs. With your next exhale, twist to the left. So here, feeling that rotation as far as you can, using the strength of your belly. And then aim the right elbow to the outside of left knee. The hands move toward the heart. We're hovering here. Then we start to hook that elbow. Press the top hand into the bottom hand to revolve the spine. Gaze up over your left shoulder. Once again, sink deep, square the hips. You got this. This is revolved chair pose, prayer twist. Come back through center. Reach the arms overhead. Inhale. And exhale, fold over the legs. Shifting the weight into the ball mounds of the feet, maybe even lift the heels so you feel that forward tilt in the pelvis, that deep forward bend. Relax the head and neck. As you inhale, halfway lift your spine. This time you can start to add the jump back if it is in your practice. I'll guide you through once, and then you can decide whether you want to be stepping or jumping back. So we inhale, halfway lift. On the exhale, we empty the breath out to pull the belly in and up, and we land with bent elbows in chaturanga. So you have that shock absorption in the arms. So it looks like this. Inhale. And then we exhale, plant the hands, hop, land with bent elbows in chaturanga. And we roll over the toes either to upward dog, or we're letting the hips touch the ground for cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Find that steady position. Bring the big toes to touch once again. As you inhale, lift the heels. Pivot the toes to the right, heels to the left. Stacking the legs, stacking the shoulders. Come into side plank. Reach that right arm high. Feel the body stacked. Broaden the shoulders. Can you create that strong arch in the lower body by pressing into the bottom hand? And notice that your shoulder is behind the wrist. So we're not compressing the wrist by moving shoulder directly over top, but instead you have that 90-degree bend between your body and your arm. It's a stronger loading angle. It allows you to take advantage of that arch. Come back through downward dog, nice and slow. Lift the heels once again. Take the toes to the left, heels to the right. Stack the hips, stack the shoulders. Nice and slow. So feel the upper back engage. You've got the shoulder blades pressing on to the upper back of the heart. And then anchor down through the right finger pads to create that strong, steady arch shape in the body. This is one of the most powerful shapes in nature, and we have it available to us in the spine. Last big breath here. And slowly come back, downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet. Really press through the finger pads to alleviate any strain in the wrists. Then we bring the big toes to touch once again. Keep the left foot down. Inhale, stretch the right leg high. Hips stay square. Feel the stretch in the back of the left leg. And as you exhale, hug the right knee into chest. Press through the hands. Create space. Step your right foot forward between your hands. Find this nice long lunge, this powerful lunge. So you have the 4 movements of a lunge are the front shin moves towards the front. We have that forward movement. And then we balance that by drawing the left heel, that back heel, towards the back of your mat. So we have separation between the thigh bones. And then we melt the right hip crease down without collapsing in the pelvis. And the back thigh is buoyant. It stays lifted by engaging the back leg. That's your strong lunge. You could lift your hands at any time. From here, we'll rise up in crescent lunge, reach the arms overhead, feel the strength of the back leg supporting you. Interlace the fingers, release index finger and thumb for Agni Mudra or Shiva Mudra, this powerful shape in the hands that generates some heat. Hug the upper arm bones towards your ears. Feel that length in the spine. Big inhale breath here. As you exhale, leaning lunge, reach the fingertips forward. Big breath in. Now shift weight into the right foot. Hug elbows to back knee so that you're hovering that left foot into chest. Inhale, re-extend, leaning lunge. Exhale, draw that knee to chest. Feel the balance. So this is that slow and steady strength. Inhale, coil through the belly. Exhale, draw the knee and the elbows in. 3 more times. Inhale, reach, and exhale, coil in. Big breath. Lengthen the body, and then exhale. Draw into the center. Last one here. And exhale. Feel the strength in that front glute. Inhale, reach. This time, release the hands to the inside of your right foot. Coming into lizard pose, really stretch the right hip by moving the right shin forward. And at the same time, pressing the left heel back. The heart is elevated here. Take your left knee down to the earth. In your own way, start to straighten that right leg back any amount. So it doesn't need to move all the way straight. Just listen to your body where you are in this moment. Hug the right toes toward the right shin. Drag the right heel back energetically back towards the right sitting bone, like you're trying to create a ripple in the mat. Engage the front of the right leg, so the quadricep, by pressing the knee back. That signals the hamstring to relax. See if you can melt the heart a little bit more to avoid rounding in the upper back. And the hip stays more or less over your back knee, so we're not too far back or too far forward. Last big breath here. And slowly come back through your lunge. Hands are down, press the back knee high. And we can inhale back to plank, big breath in. As you exhale, chaturanga. So we take the elbows straight back and make sure the shoulders are broad. We're not dipping them down. Either roll over your toes or let the hips touch down for cobra. So upward dog, thighs and hips are lifted. Cobra, thighs and hips are grounded. Back to downward dog. I love downward dog as a reset. So really take note of how your right leg feels different than the left here. Notice what changes you feel, maybe more space in the back of the leg. And then big toes touch. Keep the right foot down. Inhale, stretch your left leg high. Exhale, coil through the belly, hug knee to chest, round into the upper back, press through your hands. Step that foot between your hands. Find your strong lunge here. Again, the 4 movements. So we move the left shin forward, right heel dials back. The left hip melts down. The right thigh stays elevated and strong. I want you to lift the heart so much that you feel you could just float those fingertips off the mat. As you're ready, slowly rise in your crescent lunge. Keep that deep bend in the knees, so we're aiming for the thigh parallel to the earth. This time, interlace your fingers in the way that feels a little less natural, so switching the grasp of your fingertips. Hug the upper arm bones into your ears, lengthen up through the spine, draw the hip points toward the low ribs to tuck the lower ribs in, keep them from flaring. Big breath in here. And as you exhale, leaning lunge. Pause for the inhale. And then as you exhale, back knee to elbows, hug in. Reach, leaning lunge, create space. And then as you exhale, strengthen that front leg to hug the knee in. We reach, lengthen the sides of the waist, and exhale, curl in. Big breath. And slow exhale. So this is where we find our slow strength. Inhale, 3 more rounds. Exhale, draw it in. So that we could rush through this. We could make it easier by moving through these reps more quickly, but instead we're slowing it down. Last one, leaning lunge, reach. And slowly take the hands down to the inside of the left foot. Find your lizard lunge. So that nice wide lunge. We keep the front shin vertical and then slowly lower the back knee to the earth. Now we can roll the hips back over the back knee, straighten that left leg any amount. Hug your left toes toward your left shin. Soften the heart, belly, chest toward the earth. Activate that left leg by pressing down into the heel and like you're trying to drag it across the mat. Keep the hips nice and square. Big breath here. We slowly roll forward. Come into your lunge, lift the back knee up. Inhale, step back into plank. As you exhale, shift the weight forward. Come into that half push-up so you're floating above the ground. We roll over the toes, either upward dog or cobra. Very strong position here. So take what you need. Stretch back through the legs. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet here. Take a breath. In between our working waves here, we'll explore some spinal extension, some back bends. So as you inhale, roll forward into plank. Slowly lower your belly all the way to the earth. We're coming into locust pose, but without the bind here. So the arms are reaching back, legs are reaching back. And we'll take an inhale breath. And as you exhale, lift arms and legs, heart, thighs off the mat. Strengthen the back. But as you lift, can you try to lengthen the spine? So really stretch through your toes, stretch through your arms, lift up through the center of the chest. So we want to avoid crunching into the lower back, compressing the lower back. Instead, we're using the entire posterior chain to create that lift. So the lower back has a support team in the rest of the spine. We feel the rivers of the spine activate and awaken here. Last big breath. See if you can lift 1 inch higher. And slowly release. Pillow your head on your hands. Sway the sacrum side to side. And notice energetically the effect of the back bend. Maybe you feel your heart beating a little faster. You feel a little bit of heat. And just allow your body to absorb that energetic effect, that quality of awakening and livening the spine. Take your hands underneath your shoulders, broaden the shoulders apart. So again, we want to avoid tipping the shoulders down, but instead lifting them, opening them up. Tuck your toes under, lift your knees if you can off the mat. So you're engaging the legs, and then we press into high plank to downward facing dog. Round 2 of Sun Salutation B. Keep your left leg planted, left foot planted. Inhale, reach the right leg high. Create separation between the thigh bones. Shoulders are nice and square. Exhale, coil in, round the upper back. Step your right foot through between your hands, come into your lunge. Lengthen the spine here, and then we'll set up the feet for Warrior 1. So we start from the ground and work our way up. We create that stable foundation. So we'll take the back heel down, back toes at 45 degrees. Imagine pressing from the big toe side to the heel to internally rotate that back hip. And then the front foot moves presses heel to ball. So we're drawing that right shin forward. Feel that stretch in the back of the left leg and slowly rise in Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. Lengthen up through both sides of the waist. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Keep that strong position in the lower body, bending deeply into the right knee, drawing the left hip forward. And then as you exhale, find Yoga Mudra behind you. So interlace the fingers behind you, hug the elbows in toward each other. Feel this nice stretch across the chest, and then straighten the arms any amount. Big breath in, slow breath out. And then here, you can take the shape of your hands to your to your left hip. Start to encourage that left hip forward as you hug the elbows in behind you. Stretching the shoulders here. And then we return the hands to center, lengthen the arms back. We'll find a bit of flow. So inhale, breath. As you exhale, take right shoulder to the inner right knee, humble warrior. Arms reach up skyward. Inhale, slowly roll up. So you have to stay controlled in that base, the foundation, to stabilize. Fold forward on the exhale, humble warrior. Keep the belly drawing in. Inhale, roll up bone by bone. Last one, exhale, humble warrior. Relax the head, send the hands skyward. Inhale halfway, release your hands to frame your front foot. Now we're going to step the back foot in to shorten the stance. And you can turn the back toes in slightly so they're more straight. We have the inner edges of the feet on the same plane, so in the same line. Square the hips to the front. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. So we lengthen the right hip crease back. We draw the left hip forward. Press through the inner edges of both feet so you have that inner spiral of the upper inner thighs. On your next exhale, fold over that front leg for pyramid pose. Feel a softening here through the back body. So in order to do that, we engage the front leg, so the front thigh. And we press down through the ball mound of that front foot. Engage the quadricep to release the hamstring. So we're moving deeper into the backs of the legs here. Really anchor the back heel. And slowly halfway lift. And we make our way through vinyasa or straight to downward dog. If you're moving through vinyasa, we step it back into plank. Find your big breath here. Inhale. And as you exhale, float the shoulders, float the body down. Halfway, roll over the toes into your back bend, cobra or upward dog. Feel more space with each round. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, taking a moment to notice the difference that you feel from one side to the other. In these slow, steady practices, we are really creating a lot of space with each round of movement. So take an opportunity to notice that here. Keep your right leg down, right foot planted. Inhale, stretch your left leg high. Exhale, coil through the belly. Excuse me. Step your left foot through between your hands. Set up the feet for Warrior One. So back heel turns flat. We move the left shin forward to create that separation, but then work to square the right hip to the front of the mat. This won't happen right away. That takes a lot of mobility in the back leg, but that's the direction that we're moving. It's always helpful to know what the direction of the pattern, the body position is. And back leg is straight and strong. Back heel firmly planted. We're pressing from the ball mound of the foot to the heel to internally rotate that back hip. Slowly rise as you're ready, Warrior One. Breathing here, settling into this position. Finding some space between the thigh bones. I know this is slow, but this is where the strength is. This is where we build endurance and stamina in the legs, while also keeping our nervous system from becoming overly activated. As you're ready, interlace the fingers in the opposite way behind you. Stretch the arms straight and strong. So through the breath, through the slow rhythmic pace, we can calm the nervous system. We drop into that flow state. And then here, taking the hands to the right hip, encouraging that right hip forward, squaring the shoulders. Stay anchored through the back heel, hug the elbows into each other. Big breath in and a slow breath out. Reach the arms straight and strong behind you. Lift up through the heart, big breath. And as you exhale, humble warrior, fold the body forward, aiming the crown of the head towards the earth, the knuckles skyward. Inhale, roll up. See if you can isolate the movement in the upper body without making a change in the base, in the legs. Roll forward, exhale, bow your gaze in. And slowly, bone by bone, come back up. Last one here, humble warrior. Take the crown towards the inner edge of your foot. Reach the arms skyward. And slowly release the hands to frame that front foot. Shorten the stance. Step your back foot in. Start to turn all 10 toes to face the front, such that the inner edges of both feet are in the same line. So we wrap the inner upper thigh bones back in space by pressing through the inner edges of both feet, but without letting the feet collapse. So all 10 toes are spreading. We're firmly planted on the earth. Hug your left hip crease back in space, right hip forward. Inhale, lift halfway. And as you exhale, melt over that front leg. Find a softening in the back of the legs. And breathe. So see if you can find that fluid inhale and exhale. Take out the hard edges. Inhale, lift up halfway. Your choice, either stepping back to downward dog or moving through your vinyasa. So maybe coming to plank. Perhaps you alternate. You come all the way to the floor this time in cobra pose. The hips stay grounded. Exhale, make your way back, downward facing dog. Lots of variations available for that vinyasa, for that connecting sequence. So we're in the end of our second round of work here, pedaling out the feet. We'll come into our next back bend. So we inhale, roll the body forward. Nice and slowly lower the spine all the way down to the floor. This time preparing for bow pose. So we keep the thighs parallel. We bend the knees and press the soles of the feet up to the sky so that you feel the hip bones grounding. I want you to engage the backs of the legs and the glutes. And then just like we did in locust, as you exhale, lift the body up. Reach your fingertips toward your knees. See if you can lift the thighs off the mat. Feel the glutes engage. And then slowly release down. Bring one ear to the mat. We'll have 3 rounds of bow pose here just to deepen and explore this back bend. Our next round, bring your forehead to the mat. This time we're reaching for the inner edges of the feet. So bend the knees and take some time to get the thighs back to parallel. So we want to avoid letting the knees splay out and instead keeping the thighs parallel. Broaden across the chest, separate the shoulders, so create that external rotation in the shoulders. The thumbs are pointing in the same direction as the big toes on the inner edges of the feet. With your next exhale, we lift the thighs, press your feet into hands, hands draw back into the feet. Maybe rock forward and back, feeling a little bit of space, a little massage for the belly. I love these belly down back bends for the follicular phase, especially as we approach ovulation. They help create circulation in the abdominal organs, can help with elimination and digestion. Maybe rock side to side a little bit more. Last big breath, inhale. And slowly release. Take your other ear to the mat. Sway the hips side to side. Let that back bend settle. We'll come in for our final round. Once again, letting the legs stay parallel. This time reaching for the outer edges of the feet. So pinky is aligned with the pinky toe. You can reach for the ankles or the outer feet. Bring the legs back to parallel. Let the crown of the head and the forehead relax. So we're releasing any tension from the neck. And then with your next exhale, lift into bow pose, Dhanurasana. Let the head hang heavy so you can Sway the head side to side. Press the thighs up in space. Engage the glutes to lift the spine. Hug your hands into your feet. Feel that equal and opposite action, creating a circuit of energy all the way around. See if you can lift your chest and thighs 1 inch higher. Big breath. And slowly release. Pillow your head on your hands. Sway the sacrum side to side. As you're ready, slide your hands underneath your shoulders. So notice you might still have a lot of sensation in the spine. So just be mindful of that as we shift back to downward dog. Tuck your toes. Inhale, come up to plank. And exhale, downward dog. So again, if you feel a lot of sensation still in the spine, you might enjoy a bit of a twist. Take your right hand to the outer left leg. And just allow the spine to revolve for a moment. Gazing under left shoulder. Keeping the hips square. Come back through center, other side, left hand to the right, shin or thigh. Just rotating. The twists have this neutralizing effect for the spine. So before we continue in our final round, just allowing that space so that we can reset the spine. Come back to center, keep your left foot down. Inhale, right leg rises. On your exhale, step that right foot through between your hands. This time we're preparing the base for warrior 2. So the back heel turns down. This time, outer edge of that back foot parallel to the short edge of your mat. You want your front heel to bisect the back foot. Dial the right knee open. Wrap the right sitting bone underneath you. Sometimes I like to take the left hand and really draw that sitting bone underneath the body to externally rotate the right hip. Keep that deep bend in the right knee, strong back leg as you rise in warrior 2. Find that point where the arms are in the horizontal plane. Really engage the arms here. Telescope the rib cage out of the pelvis. Soften the shoulders. From here, we're taking the right arm under the left arm for eagle arms, wrapping all the way around. If that's too much, you can always just reach for opposite elbows, or opposite shoulders, excuse me. Wrapping around here, sink deep once again in warrior 2. Now we'll add a little bit of flow here. So we inhale breath. And as you exhale, unwrap the arms. Take the left arm overhead, right arm directly underneath you. Spin the right low ribs underneath you. Come back up, inhale, eagle arms. And as you exhale, reach. Feel that engagement in the belly and the spine. Inhale, eagle arms. I know your legs talking to you here. Can you keep that stable foundation? Last one, big breath. And exhale. Revolve the spine here. Slowly come up, warrior 2. Now we're going to straighten that front leg, heel toe the back foot so that you shorten the stance. Just like we did in pyramid pose, we're preparing for triangle here. So it's a very similar posture to the one we did with a closed hip position. Now we have the front hip, the front thigh externally rotated. So we keep that strong, stable position, level the hip bones in space. We take the arms out to T. You might keep your back hand on your hip. Reach those right fingertips out over the right toes. You will find that your hips and your pelvis tilt. That's okay. I want you to lengthen from the right hip crease to the right armpit. Create as much space as you can there. And then bring the right hand to the shin. Use your left hand to lengthen the left hip, the left side waist. So that active energy there. And gaze down at the floor to help free the neck before you then rotate it up and around so that we have no strain in the shoulders and neck. Once again, wrapping the right sitting bone underneath you. Spread the toes, press evenly through the inner edges of both feet. You can take your left arm up and maybe take it all the way overhead, full Utthita Trikonasana, so extended triangle pose. Micro bend in the right knee here. And as you're ready, slowly, mindfully bend into that knee. Come back up through kind of a modified warrior 2. And then we'll rainbow the hands all the way down to frame that front foot. You can step right back to downward dog or move through your vinyasa. So stepping it back to plank. Maybe lowering down to hover. The spine moves as a unit. Roll over the toes. Inhale to your back bend, either cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Enjoy a very deep breath here. Pedal out the feet. And then as you're ready, the right foot stays planted. Inhale, left leg rises. Exhale, step your left foot through between your hands. Lower the back heel in preparation for warrior two. So that front heel bisects the back arch. We have the outer edge of back foot parallel to the short side of the mat. Same key actions as we have in the lunge here. So that left hip crease now dropping down, but we're strengthening the back thigh, keeping that leg straight and strong. Wrap the left sitting bone under, maybe using your hand to create that alignment. And then we slowly come up, bringing the arms to that horizontal plane. Use your proprioception here to align the shoulders directly over the hips. Sink a little bit deeper into the legs. Big breath in. Slow breath out. Wrap the left arm under right for eagle arms. Find that position first. And then we take a big inhale. As you exhale, unwrap the arms, reach the left arm forward and the right arm overhead. Come back through center, inhale. And exhale, unwrap, reach, extend, keep that back leg strong. It's like your anchor, it's guiding you, it's keeping you stable. And reach. Last two here, inhale. Wrap the arms, stretch the shoulders. Exhale, engage the sides of the waist. Last one here, big breath. And release. Slowly rise up in warrior two. Straighten that front leg. We're going to heel toe the back foot in to shorten the stance so that we're not overextending the joints and ligaments in that front leg. So we want to stretch it in that safe container where we're not moving past our edge. We have the hips square and even first. And then we bring the right hand to right hip, left fingertips reaching forward, stretch the left side waist. So as much space between that left hip crease and left armpit as you can find. Bring your left hand to your shin, rotate the shoulders open. Use your right hand to lengthen the right side waist. Breathe here. Option to release the right arm overhead or maybe stretching fingertips forward. Feel that length in the side of the waist. Activate the legs, so engage the quadriceps. And slowly come out into that modified warrior two, big breath. And exhale, take the hands down. Step it into plank, inhale. Move through either downward dog or your vinyasa, lowering to chaturanga, finding your strength, and then opening in the back bend. Downward facing dog, take a breath. Final round of deep back bending here. As you inhale, bring your knees to the mat. Slowly come into your kneeling position, this time with the toes tucked under so your heels are elevated. We'll open the palms out in front of you, hug the elbows into your sides. So soften the shoulders away from the ears, lift up through the center of the chest. I want you to spin your thumbs out behind you, so that helps open the front body. And then without flaring the low ribs, so lift the hip points toward the low ribs. Keep that spacious quality in the spine. Slowly start to reach your hands toward your inner heels. Once they connect, start to press your thighs forward, lift up through the heart. So think not compression, but extension in the spine. So this back bending is more like back lengthening, back extending here. Press the inner edges of your heels with your hands and hug your heels back into your hands. Feel that stretch across the chest. Lift up through the heart, maybe send the head back. To come out, make sure you draw your chin to your chest first. Bring one hand to the sacrum and then the other. And then we can untuck the toes. Let that settle for a moment. So come down and just allow whatever comes up in the back bend to be absorbed by your body, to be metabolized by your body and your breath. So a few deep inhales and exhales here. And then we'll resist the urge to come straight into a forward bend. Instead, we'll neutralize with a twist. So take the left hand to the right knee, right fingertips behind you. Just a gentle twist here. If this is too much in the knees, you can always come onto one side. And then we'll switch. So you can take your feet to the other side, right hand to left knee, twist. Big breath here. And then we'll slowly come into ball pose. So you can, I'm going to turn to face you. You can stay as you are. Come into a ball pose squat. So we lift the heels high up off the mat. We hug the knees into chest, curl your chin in. Feel a rounding in the spine. And see if you can articulate all 10 toes. So really flare the toes out. Press through the ball mounds of the feet to stretch the soles as we prepare for standing balance. So we want to kind of release any tension that might be present in the feet first. And then slowly find your forward bend. So heels touch down, legs move in the direction of straight. Make sure your hips are directly over your ankles. So there's this forward tilt of the weight in the body. And then slowly, bone by bone, we roll up. We're preparing for our standing balance series before coming down for our closing wave. So as you come into position, you want to feel both feet firmly planted on the earth. So all 10 toes are spreading nice and wide. We're starting with a simple crane pose. So we start to give the weight from the right foot to the left. So your left foot is planted. You hug your right knee into chest. So just experiment with that first. Let that settle. So now you're in that strong one-legged position. Once you feel your balance, then we're moving into tree pose. So we guide that right knee open out to the side without anything else changing. So we keep the axis of the spine straight and strong. Bring that right foot to the inner left thigh or inner left shin, anywhere, just avoiding the knee joint. Press your palms into your heart, into each other. And feel the equal and opposite action as you press your foot into thigh, press your thigh back into your foot. You might find that any of that shakiness, that unsteadiness begins to kind of stabilize when you find that equal and opposite action. And then mirror that in your hands. We're going to take this a little bit further now. So we are coming into our extended leg pose. So you can find the outer edge of the foot or maybe even wrap peace fingers around the big toe. We keep that external rotation in the right hip and then left hand to the left hip. Keep the spine nice and tall. Try not to bend side to side. And any amount, start to play with straightening that right leg. I want you to lift your toe, bend your elbow so you're hugging that leg into the body, and then root down. Grow tree roots into your left leg. Lengthen both sides of the waist evenly, soften the shoulders. And then we come through center slow. So this is that slow, strong quality here. We're going to exchange hands. Bring your left hand to the outer right foot and take your right hand behind you. Don't worry if you fall out. Just come back in when you're ready. Finding that revolved position here. And then a little bit of coordination. So I'm going to change to give myself more space here. So we're in that revolved position. You're going to take the right leg, sweep it back behind you, and bring your right hand to the mat. So we come into revolved warrior 3. Take it nice and slow. Release that leg. And we windmill all the way now to revolved on the other side. So it might take a little bit of left brain, right brain connection here, but you should land with the left foot down, right foot back, reaching that left arm high, right hand planted down. Square the hips as best as you can. Big breath in. And slow breath out. Release both hands to the mat. Let your back foot come down. Forward bend. So that's the little bit of coordination that we get to play with during the follicular phase, where we have kind of those synaptic connections firing more clearly, more readily. So it's a good opportunity to try these complex transitions, keep them slow and steady. Come into ball pose once again. So lift the heels, lower the hips to the heels, stretch the feet. Then we'll move into a second round of standing balance on the other side. So slowly release the heels, roll up bone by bone. I'll turn to face you once again, so I'll be mirroring you in movement. From here, we're going to give the weight from the left leg to the right, your right leg firmly planted. Begin with crane pose, just hugging that knee into chest and working to keep the shoulders elevated, so that nice upright position. Then we'll guide that left knee out to the side for tree pose. Again, notice if your body wants to bend and twist. Can you keep the spine a little bit more stable? Bring the foot to inner thigh. Find that equal and opposite action to stabilize and let the hands find the heart. Steady your gaze on a non-moving point so you have that inner equilibrium. You can kind of wiggle side to find it. And now that you know what is coming, can you release any and all expectations you might have for this second side? We're going to release the foot, reach peace fingers around the big toe, left peace fingers around toe, or find the outer edge of your foot. You can take your opposite arm out to the side for a counterbalance. And then slowly, in your own way, begin to straighten that left leg any amount. So it can be a little, it can be a lot, and it might be very different from the first side. Once you get there, bend the elbow to hug that leg a little closer. Lift up evenly through both sides of the waist. You got this. If you fall out, come right back in. And now the slow and steadiness. We're bringing right hand to the outer edge of left foot. Lift up through the spine and rotate open. So I'm going to switch here so that I have more space. Find that rotation, reach the left arm back behind you, and then just start to visualize before we actually move how you're going to windmill the hands all the way down and send that left leg back behind you. So we get ready, big inhale breath, and then slowly release that leg, control the transition. Bring your left hand to the mat, right arm skyward, revolved warrior three, revolved half moon. Square the hips, hug the inner thighs to the midline, lengthen the spine, and slowly release that hand down. Back foot touches down. Find your forward bend here, maybe ragdoll side to side. And then as you're ready, we'll slowly step it out into downward facing dog. Create some space in the upper back. Keep your knees deeply bent for this round, lifting the sitting bones skyward. And then as you're ready, step your right foot to the left hand. Bring the knife edge of that right foot to the mat. I want you to rock forward and back so you feel that position where the right leg is crossing the body. And then aim your right knee toward your right hand. Let the shin come down. Lower into position. We're preparing for pigeon pose. So as best as you can, keep the shoulders floating over the hips to start. I like to keep the back toes tucked under until I get into position. That helps encourage the back hip into that square alignment. So the back toes, back knee, back hip, pointing down into the earth. You can keep the shin parallel or maybe hug the right heel a little closer to your body, depending on what feels right for you. And if this is too much, you can always bring that back knee in and take a modified variation. So whichever arrangement feels good for you, find it and start to fold forward. Relax your head on your hands. Keep anchoring the top of that left thigh down and encouraging the right hip crease to open. So really anchoring that right hip crease, releasing tension in the outer thighs, outer glutes. And pigeon pose, such a great posture for athletes, for strength training. Great way to alleviate low back pain by freeing the muscles in the glutes, by sort of liberating any tension that might be there. With your inhales, inflate the lungs so much that you feel your belly expand into your right thigh. So you feel that gentle pressure, that connection. We'll be here for 5 more very deep breaths. So taking whatever you can, absorbing as much of this spacious quality as you can. And then without urgency, without rush, slowly begin to lift up and bring the shoulders over the hips, wiggle side to side. And then we'll make our way back to downward dog as you're ready. Once again, just observing the shift, observing the change side to side. When you're ready, step your left foot to your right hand. Come onto the knife edge of that foot. Rock forward and back so that you feel kind of any tension dissipate in the outer leg. So we want to have the nerves and joints kind of free before we come into this very deep hip opener. Bring your left knee to your right hand and slowly lower into position. You might notice right away the difference in side to side. For me, much more challenging on the left side. You can take your shoulders over your wrists to start. Back toes turn down. And then as you're ready, folding forward, making a pillow for your head. And then working to deepen the pose by pressing the top thigh into the mat, magnetizing the left hip crease back behind you. So we feel that quality of motion even in the stillness. So you have the inner activation, kind of the muscle activation creating movement, even though from the outside it might look like stillness. So left hip crease draws back, right hip moves forward. And then we breathe here. Deep, full belly breaths in and out. We'll take 5 more very deep breaths in this pigeon pose. Seeing if you can slow your breath rhythm down even a little bit more. Letting each breath rinse from the inside out. And then without urgency, again, just slowly coming out, bringing your hands for support. And then in your own way, take your left knee to join the right. Coming into child's pose, let your big toes touch. Knees are nice and wide. Lower your belly towards the earth. Once again, you can pillow your hands. There's not too much strain in the shoulders here. Sway your hips side to side. Heavy the hips to the heels. Melt the heart, belly, chest toward the floor and breathe. You might even bring an ear to the mat if that's more comfortable. Letting any residual sensation flow through the hips and into the rest of the body. And for our final resting posture, you have the option for downward facing Shavasana. This can be a very grounding posture, but if you'd rather lie on your back, you can start to make your way there now. Otherwise, coming onto the belly, bringing one ear to the mat, freeing the sacrum, letting the hips rock side to side. Just absorbing the stability of the earth element here, so the unmoving ground beneath you. See if you can take on some of that steadiness, that strength and stability. Let your eyes close softly. And notice now that there's a little bit of resistance for your breath against the surface beneath you. So what can you take from this practice, from this slow and strong practice? How can you carry that with you for the rest of your day, for the rest of this phase or this cycle? How can you be that unwavering pillar of support for yourself? How can you tap into those qualities that were so present in your movement practice? Where else can they show up for you? We'll be here a minute or two more, just resting in stillness, relaxing control of your breath, and letting your body be heavy. Only when you're ready, start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, circling the wrists and the ankles. If you're on your belly, bend your knees, sway the lower leg side to side. If you're on your back, same thing, just sway the knees side to side with the feet planted. Freeing the low spine. And just like you might wake up in your favorite way, let your re-entry here be very slow. You can stretch your arms overhead and roll to one side. Taking each new body position, giving it the transition time it needs. Slowly make your way up to a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. Once you're there, give yourself a few moments, once again, just to create that inner scan. So scanning from your head to your toes, looking for anything that has shifted, anything that feels more awake, more energized, any places that feel worked, that feel tired. And just gathering information here that you can carry with you through the rest of your day. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this practice, for showing up for yourself, and for letting your body be moved.